a video constituting the body cam footage which will hopefully exonerate me in a court of law. This is the Daniel Natal Show. What is dual morality culture? It's the concept that you treat people differently according to their status. For instance, if you're sycophantic to the powerful and a tyrant to those you consider beneath you, this is dual morality culture. Philosopher Max Weber, in his book, The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, said in 1904 that capitalism arose in the West because we did not have dual morality culture. In fact, we had the opposite. We had a unitary ethical system, where we treated everybody according to the same standard, from the king all the way down to the lowest street sweeper. All were equal before the law. This is what Thomas Jefferson meant by America being founded on the premise that all men were created equal. This was not about race, but about class, and it was written to the King of England stating that Americans do not recognize him as a superior being above them. America would be predicated on the principle that all would be equal before the law. The playwright George Bernard Shaw said, "I treat a duchess as a maid and a maid as a duchess." This is a very Western concept. But because of this, the West, according to Weber, prospered. We stigmatized dishonesty. We applied one Christian standard to everyone. By contrast, dual morality cultures outside of Christendom behaved quite differently. They had separate rules for in-groups and out-groups. In Islam, for instance, they're enjoined to treat fellow Muslims well, but in the Code of Taqiyya, they're allowed to lie, cheat, and rape infidels. In the Talmud in Judaism, Jews are told to behave fairly to fellow Jews, but they have rather more informal ideas on the subject of how Gentiles are to be treated. India also has a dual morality culture. They have a proverb, "The tears of strangers are just water." In other words, compassion for the outgroup was discouraged. I read an article in the India Times where the author fretted about India's culture of dissimulation regarding cheating on college entrance exams. He said that India encourages dishonesty and that families actually teach their kids how to lie. One father in the article beamed about how his 8-year-old came home telling him of his first scam. In Europe, by contrast, lying was highly stigmatized. People were put into pillories and publicly shamed for being dishonest. Immoral behavior was grounds for ostracism. This unitary ethical structure, which was tightly enforced in Europe, is why Max Weber says that capitalism arose in the West. People could be trusted to pay back loans or fulfill contracts. Thus, Marco Polo could find financing for his trip to China, or Columbus could get funding for his voyage to the New World. Economic activity could ramp up because a banking system under those circumstances could generate. This is not possible in places like China or the Middle East, where lying was encouraged as an art, and it was the gullible person who was stigmatized and not the con artist. As a result, these places remain backward and poor. Transparency International does a survey of which are the most corrupt cultures in the world. In one of many studies, they've undertaken an investigation centered on diplomats with parking tickets in Manhattan. According to New York Times writer David Brooks, quote, "It turns out that the diplomats from the most corrupt cultures had the most parking tickets. The countries with the least number of parking tickets were countries like Sweden, Norway, and Denmark. They had 0 per diplomat. Kuwait, 236 per diplomat. If you're a Swede, it doesn't matter if you can park next to the fire hydrant. You're not going to do it." In another study, undertaken by the University of Zurich, social scientists dropped wallets in various countries around the world to see which people were the most likely to return the wallet. To no one's surprise, it was Western countries that topped the honesty list, whereas countries that had dual morality systems were least likely to return the wallet. See here. The Global Corruption Index demonstrates a shocking correlation between dual morality cultures and economic stagnation. This is highlighted as well in Mark Penn's Microtrends Squared, where the author writes about microloans given out by banks to impoverished people in developing nations. These loans to individuals trying to start businesses were a success in South America or East Asia, but floundered in Africa because would-be entrepreneurs there failed to pay back the loans. Penn adds, "Unfortunately, despite the numerous success stories, there are just as many tales of borrowers who built up debt they couldn't repay. Africa, for example, has not attracted as much attention or capital as, say, South America, due to political risks and weaker infrastructure." What was the difference between, say, Bolivia and Nigeria? Answer: dual morality culture. In The Protestant Ethic, Weber comments, "It's no coincidence that capitalism first arose in America where the Puritans held sway and rigorously enforced morality. In short, our moral structure is why we became prosperous, and why we eventually came to dominate the world." I begin the presentation about unitary ethical structures versus dual morality codes because I was watching a video where Ben Shapiro talks about abortion, and it occurred to me that he was engaging in dual morality thinking.
I just have a quick question about abortion. I was wondering, the way you're describing it sounds like killing of babies, whether unborn or born, sounds like a first-degree murder case. I just want to make sure I'm getting that right. Punishment for first-degree murder is life imprisonment without parole. I was wondering if you think people who commit abortions should be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole.
And doctors, specifically? I mean,
doctors or mothers.
Okay, so the position of the pro-life movement has been for decades that mothers should not be punished for abortion, that women are, at least in part, as much a victim of the abortion as the child. And that springs largely from ignorance about what exactly is being killed. Very few women are actively saying, sure, it's a baby in my womb, take it out. Most of them are saying it's a ball of tissue, it's nothing, it doesn't mean anything. I've been told by Planned Parenthood that it means nothing, so go ahead and perform this polyp surgery. And so that's acting out of ignorance. It lacks the mens rea, and sort of legal terminology that would be necessary in order to establish something like a first-degree murder charge. The same thing does not hold true for Kermit Gosnell. The same thing does not hold true for abortion doctors who are fully aware that a 20-week-old baby is, in fact, a baby.
In the clip, Ben seems content to go along with treating women as fractional citizens. What's a fractional citizen? That's like a child in our society. A fractional citizen is a citizen, but has no voting rights, can't enter into contracts, can't drink, can't drive, and so forth. A fractional citizen has only partial rights, like a slave, for instance, 3/5 of a citizen. Shapira says that women don't have the mens rea to be able to be held accountable for their abortions because they don't believe that the baby is human. Okay, but by that same reasoning, should a Klansman not be prosecuted for killing minorities because he doesn't believe they were human? It's the same logic. Does Ben believe in equality before the law or a two-tier system? Because what he seems to be all right with is a dual morality system. Different standards for different people. In other words, rule by hypocrisy. Our system was supposed to be predicated on a unitary ethical structure, one standard for all. What's happening in America now is that the older population who held to a unitary ethical structure are being supplanted by people who adhere culturally to a dual morality system. And this dissonance is sending our system into oscillations. It's like trying to put a PlayStation disc into an Xbox game console. It doesn't work. And this is why people are outraged. The perception of double standards is what led Trump to victory in 2016 when an enraged populace yelled, "Lock her up, lock her up." Make no mistake, the institution of a dual morality system isn't there to protect the vulnerable. It's there to protect the powerful. Like when Hillary Clinton was allowed to walk because according to James Comey, she didn't know what she was doing when she broke the law. Yes, we were told. What she did was, according to the statute, illegal, but she didn't have the requisite consciousness to know that it was illegal, even though the statute doesn't call for that as a standard. Comey just made it up. So while others did far less than Mrs. Clinton and went to jail for it, she was allowed to skate by. Sadly, Ben Shapiro seems to be endorsing this legal standard in the video. 2 sets of rules, one for the strong and one for the weak. Thanks, Ben. Could reading the New American Magazine boost your heart health, support your immune system, and help you lose 20 pounds of unsightly fat? The answer is no. But you should read it anyway. It'll keep you informed and provide information that cuts through the noise of lesser news outlets. thenewamerican.com. And don't forget to subscribe to us on social media and hit that like button.